I want to introduce you to Pruvdi. So Pruvdi is the man of the hour. He's over there, he's waving his hand. And the reason why that he's here today is to help and inspire other entrepreneurs, other driven individuals to get to where they want to go. We will be exploring the most pressing business challenges within Melbourne. I'm going to introduce the candidates today. Arron Wood, Anthony Cuda, Nicholas Reese, Councillor Jamal Hakim.
I think the magazine's fantastic. I love the mentoring concept as well. We've actually announced as part of one of our policies that we think business mentoring for particularly small business is something that is really, really important.
We're going to deliver energy price reductions. That's real cost of living relief for business. And we are going to deliver a clean city because that attracts people. That's good for business.
The question is, how do you do what we say, save money? We have to make sure the state government realises Melbourne needs more funding.
What we need is a plan that builds a system that continues to deliver for Melbourne. And they've been proven around the world. We're creating the world's first experience improvement district because that's what Melbourne's about. We are an experience city.
Melbourne's business revolution, Inspirepreneur hosts groundbreaking Lord Mayor's debate. In a city buzzing with entrepreneurial spirit and facing unprecedented challenges, Inspirepreneur has stepped up to the plate, becoming the first platform to directly address the pressing business issues plaguing Melbourne. As the race for Lord Mayor heats up, this innovative organisation has orchestrated a debate that promises to reshape the city's economic landscape, set against the backdrop of a post-pandemic recovery, skyrocketing housing costs, and a CBD struggling to regain its vibrancy. The Inspirepreneur debate brings together a diverse panel of candidates, each vying to lead Melbourne into a new era of prosperity. From seasoned politicians to sports legends turned civic leaders, the stage is set for a clash of visions that could define the city's future. And at a crossroads, Inspirepreneur's debate isn't just about choosing a new Lord Mayor, it's about charting a course for the city's economic future. With its finger on the pulse of the business community and its eye on tomorrow's leaders, Inspirepreneur is setting a new standard for civic engagement and political discourse. Join us for this landmark event where the future of Melbourne's business landscape will be shaped before your eyes.
You went down there and took a photo with them. Nick actually fixed the problem for them. So I think that's a bit of a strange example for you to want to highlight as an example of your good track record, because I'm yet to see a selfie being a good outcome for a business. I'm really proud to be running with the Lord Mayor who fixed the problem.
To introduce the organisers of today and their story and the why and the purpose of how this was formed all the way along. And I want to introduce you to Pruvdi. So Pruvdi is the man of the hour. He's over there, he's waving his hand. And this person also had a vision. He had a vision as a little boy that he wanted to be successful. He didn't know how, but he had this life purpose, he had this dream. And this dream was feeding inside of him. And he came to Australia. He's into food too, just like me. And he had this vision about Mexican food. That this was going to be his vehicle to get him to where he needed to be. And what he did then was he went to a Mexican restaurant and he said, I really want to work with you guys. How do I make this happen? How can I get inside? I know Mexican food. I love Mexican food. And wherever there is a successful restaurant overseas, it's always Mexican. So I'm going to choose Mexican. And this was the start of his journey. And what he found is that over the 2 years, he was asking his mentors so many big questions. How do I do this? And how do I do that? And how do I get here? And how do I do that? And as he was doing that, he was learning a lot. But in those 2 years, he learned, how do I become like, how do I get to that next level? And I think this is how he always is how do I grow? How do I get to the next level? And the restaurant that he was working at, which is La Cabra, he proposed that they franchise. And they've never done this before, they've never thought about it, but through his goodwill and through his hard work, he was able to franchise his first restaurant. And the reason why that he's here today is to help and inspire other entrepreneurs, other driven individuals to get to where they want to go to. And his vision is that instead of someone taking 2 years and not really understanding the environment That what if there were some mentors, some people in the room like that are here today, especially the incredible people that we're going to bring up on stage. What if what if we were able to ask them for some mentorship? And this is why we're here. This is how La Cabra and this is how Provdi were able to bring this event together in such little time. I'm not sure if you guys know actually how little time. But I want you guys to give a big round of applause to our sponsors, La Cabra. And big round of applause to Provdi. And big round of applause to the co-founder of Inspirepreneur, Manjula. Getting you guys ready for the agenda today. Tonight, we will be exploring the most pressing business challenges within Melbourne, from economic growth strategies to support for our local businesses and overcoming bureaucratic hurdles. This forum is designed to leave no stone unturned. We have assembled a star-studded panel of candidates and business leaders ready to engage in a spirited and forward-thinking debate. I'm going to introduce the candidates. Councillor Jamal Hakim, known for his commitment to fostering a business-friendly environment, will be presenting policies focusing on creating a fairer tax system and bold economic plans that support local enterprises. Arron Wood, a passionate advocate for job creation, will share his vision for economic development, placing small businesses at the centre of his campaign. Anthony Cuda, otherwise known as Cuda, renowned for his innovative approaches, will delve into how we can enhance business operations, ensuring that Melbourne remains a powerhouse of commerce. Nicholas Reese, focusing on sustainability, will propose greener neighbourhoods and policies that tie in environmental goals with economic success. Tonight's debate will cover economic growth strategies. We will hear from the candidates on how they plan to stimulate investment, job creation, and local entrepreneurship, local business support, how the government and the business sector can work together to reduce red tape and provide businesses with the resources they need to flourish. Overcoming bureaucratic challenges, we will address funding access and propose solutions for simplifying the process that often hinder business progress. Our candidates will bring forward bold economic plans and science and tech innovation. Our first person, Arron Wood. And give a round of applause to Arron Wood. Person is Jamal Hakim. Can you please come up? Representing Nicholas Reese. Could you please come up to the room? A big round of applause. Representing Anthony Cuda. Thank you guys for making some time for your day. I know it's a hectic week, especially during these campaign times. Let's give each other 5 minutes.
Thanks for having me today.
Thank you.
Provdi and Manjula, congratulations on all you've achieved. I think the magazine's fantastic. I love the mentoring concept as well. We've actually announced as part of one of our policies that we think business mentoring for particularly small business is something that is really, really important. We think, there are some businesses in exactly the same sector. One business is doing really well and one business isn't. What's the difference between those two? And how can we use some of those people who have done really well to give the tips and tricks to those businesses that might be struggling a bit? I'm a small business owner myself, have been for 22 years in education. I'm a Kensington resident of nearly 2 decades. I absolutely love Melbourne. And we've got a great city, but we've also got a city that's got some challenges. And that's not about talking the city down. That's actually about being honest about where we're up to, allowing particularly the business community to come together and to collaborate on solving those challenges that we face. So Team Wood have come out with a 5-point plan to get Melbourne back on track again, to get us to be one of the world's most livable cities again, but also seeing the economic recovery as a centrepiece to that. So really core to the city's recovery is the business recovery, because when business thrives, our communities thrive as well. I think the other thing about City of Melbourne is that often the businesses are the residents as well, because many people who live in Melbourne are actually in small business as well. So they're often one and the same. I think the difficult thing, the clarion call, if you like, is that over the last 12 months, 45% of businesses have said they've considered closing or leaving in the last 12 months. And that's a real concern. There's all sorts of challenges and headwinds. And City of Melbourne can be a really strong partner to help our business sector thrive again. So that 5-point plan is about revitalising Melbourne's economy. So we announced an economic recovery task force to be chaired by Paul Guerra from the Vic Chamber, and including business leaders from across all of the key sectors in Melbourne, to really set about making recommendations to the City of Melbourne, and indeed to other levels of government, about what they want to see to really get business firing again. I think the other thing about it too, though, is you need some foundational things in our city. We need a city that's safe, that's clean, that's accessible. And again, not talking the city down, but we have seen a 10% jump in crime, and that's 80 more incidents across the CBD and wider city each and every day, taking a hotspot approach to crime in our city, and that led to a much safer city than we're seeing today. So taking action on those foundational issues is critical as well. Supporting our communities to thrive with the facilities and services that they need, but to do that you've got to have a town hall budget that's under control, so you can invest in those services as well. So we've seen 3 years of deficits and a $100,000 surplus at the moment in a $700 million plus budget. So we've announced a whole host of programs aimed at getting the town hall budget back under control so that it can play the role of investment partner that it should be. We won't be proceeding with the Green Line project. We think it's a project that was founded on $100 million from the state government and $100 million from the federal government. That's not forthcoming. I'm a big supporter of greening the city, and in fact in my time on council we invested in lots of new parks and gardens and delivered a lot of the urban forest strategy. But when your funding model isn't coming through, just as we would do in business, we need to revisit that commitment, and so we won't proceed with anything that's uncontracted at the moment. So we'll honour the contracts that are out there for Birrarung Ma, and obviously Seafarers Rest is being completed by the developer. But what we will do is redirect some of the savings from that Green Line project, real money, not the absolute forward estimates, but real money to the bottom line of Town Hall, to deliver a real surplus to allow us to invest in the facilities and services that we need. I think the other thing that in our 5-point plan is actually tackling the cost of living. And people say, well, what can City of Melbourne do about cost of living when it's such a macro issue? What it can do is just take the pressure off people. So we announced very early in the campaign a freeze in rates. You will get a lot of promises during this campaign because it's an election campaign. So I refer to my time on Town Hall when I was Chair of Finance and Governance when COVID hit. And what we did there is deliver a 0% rate rise or a rate freeze in that time. And that just takes the pressure off businesses, off residents, gives a little bit of breathing space. But the important thing for Melbourne is it restores what we've got at the moment as a crisis in confidence. So just telling people that we're investing back in them to get them going. Last on that list is to revive Melbourne's cultural heartbeat, and we're very big supporters of our multicultural communities. We've announced a whole program around that. But this is actually a pillar about small business particularly, because what we know about small business is it's not just people's livelihoods, it's literally the lifeblood of what makes Melbourne Melbourne. So the cafes, the restaurants, you know, the small retail, these businesses that people put their blood, sweat and tears into, if we lose those businesses, we lose the fabric of Melbourne. So we've announced a $28 million package for that. So Team Wood will offer a fresh start with proven leadership to get the basics right.
Thank you so much, guys. Round of applause. Let's hear from Jamal Hakim.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, and well done to Prithvi and Munjala and the team for what you're doing tonight in this session and with the magazine. I'm Jamal Hakim, and I want to see Melbourne that is democratic, that is welcoming, and that is flourishing, a city that, in a post-pandemic environment, is building on what we love about Melbourne and continuing to be that global city that we know it is. We bat above our weight as Melbourne, and what we need to do is to continue to drive ourselves forward so that we can deliver for Melbourne. We know that there's so much that's happened since the pandemic and into this period, and that's been a challenge for Melbourne. So we've put together a package of the interconnected policies and plans that will deliver for Melbourne's people, for Melbourne's economy, and for our environment. I want to talk about 3 things out of that plan that I think are key cornerstones. All of these are interconnected, and ultimately it's about ensuring that our people come first and that we are bringing footfall back and we're driving our economy. Number 1, It is making Melbourne the #1 family city in the world. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and I want Melbourne to be that village. When we bring families into Melbourne, we build economies, we create spaces that are safer, we create environments where people can take prams, where people with disabilities can access things, where we can all access things. So a review of our basic infrastructure to ensure that everyone can access civic life, and a grant program to support people to come back to work and have family caring facilities at work. I mean, if we want to bring people back to the office, we don't tell them to come back. We create an environment where they want to come back. Because why wouldn't you? I love to come into the office and to engage with others. And I think most people do once they're back. But we've got to remind them. They've had 2 years where they're stuck at home and their behaviors are changed. For many young dads especially, they've, for the first time, been able to spend time with kids. So let's change that around. Why would you want to come in? Well, let's give you those reasons. And one of those is by creating a family-friendly city. Number 2, we want a creative resurgence. We all know that Melbourne is really very much about its arts and culture. If we didn't have our arts and culture, we'd just be Sydney. And a few people have heard me say that before, but I will keep saying it because it's so important. It is still really relevant. Artists and creatives are leaving the city by the drove. So we need to ensure that we've got affordable spaces. And in fact, we've got some spaces, 20% vacancy rate in our offices. So let's fill them with creatives who will not only bring our city back to life, but they will come into the city and actually be part of our city as well. Because what do creatives do? They innovate together and they come together as people and actually create something. And we can do that by supercharging our creative spaces programs. We don't have to redo things. We've actually got a creative spaces program that's got no funding, that's been proven to deliver. So we'll deliver on that and fund that. We'll fund the Nicholas Building Association to ensure that those micro businesses continue, and so much more around our creative resurgence. We've got to continue to be a creative city because that's how we innovate and that's how we as a city continue to thrive. It forms part of everything, including people coming for visitation. And third thing is coming to our economy. We have a bold economic plan. There's a lot of talk around what you can do, sugar hits being thrown out in this campaign, left, right, and centre, whether it's free coffee, whether it's Melbourne money again. These are all sugar hits. What we need is a plan that builds a system that continues to deliver for Melbourne. And we've got a proven one. Business improvement districts have been proven around the world to deliver 35% increase in turnover for businesses that are part of that, above market. 50% increase in property values above market. And they've been proven around the world. We're creating the world's first experience improvement district because that's what Melbourne's about. We are an experience city. And we believe and we know from all these results that Melbourne will then be a resilient, strong and bold city well into the future with some plans and some deliverables right away to bring footfall back through things like festivals and through things like Neurospace, which is a Melbourne business that's already doing that for bringing people back into offices in Adelaide and Sydney, but it hasn't been taken up in Melbourne. So that's my plan for Melbourne. I'm really looking forward to this debate and I hope that you enjoy it as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for Jamal. Thank you. And representing Nicholas Reese. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Roshena Campbell, and it is my honour to be here representing Team Nick Reese tonight. Thank you so much to the organisers for having me. Now, like some people in this room perhaps, I'm not a Melburnian by birth, but I am a Melburnian by choice. I love this city. It has given me my life. I started my life in Melbourne just before I turned 18, living just a few blocks from where we are here. I studied in this city, I did a law degree, and then within a decade, I became a barrister in this city. And walking in to the Supreme Court or the Federal Court in robes, as the daughter of migrants to this country, I couldn't believe how far my family had come. Melbourne is truly a city of opportunity, and I want it to keep being that, a place where dreams are realised. My 4 children were born in this city. They took their first steps in our parks, learned to read in our libraries, learned to swim in our council pools. And everything that I do as a councillor, and now standing before you tonight as a candidate for Deputy Lord Mayor on Team Nick Reese, I do imagining what this city will look like for them. They're young. They're aged 1 to 11. I want to create a Melbourne where they will be proud, where they and all of our kids realise their dreams. I want Melbourne to be a city of opportunity. I am so proud of the agenda that Team Nick Reese has put up in this election. And I want to focus on 3 things. I talked about my parents. They came to this country as migrants. They were small business owners. And what I remember most closely about my childhood is how hard that is. Those difficult conversations around a dinner table, making sure that you were juggling the paperwork, still raising a family, and finding time to grow that business. That's why I believe everybody in government has a role in making it easy for businesses to thrive. I said I was a barrister. I've also been a councillor over the last 4 years. And one of the things that I have been proudest to deliver is an enhanced business concierge service. So what does that mean? Well, if you're a small business owner, it used to be the case you came to town hall. You needed to go here to get a planning permit, over there to get some food safety permits, over here to talk about your signage. That is time you are not spending growing your business, not spending with your family. In the time the business concierge service has been established, we have halved the time it takes to start a business in the City of Melbourne. Cut the red tape. And when I say concierge, I mean that. You have one person who holds your hand through all of those processes. They are your person at Town Hall. So you spend less time talking to government and more time growing your business. The time that it took to start a business at the start of my council term was 8 months. That's now down to 4 months. I want to get it even lower. I want to make it possible for every business to thrive. And a big part of that is reducing the cost of doing business. Now, councils aren't responsible for the cost of living crisis, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't play our part. And we've got to do it in a few ways. We have committed to a rates freeze, but unlike the other teams, we're going to deliver that rates freeze and keep the budget in surplus. When a rates freeze was previously delivered, that left the council with its first and record deficit. We have done the hard work this term, like every household is doing, to make sure we balance the books. We are back in surplus. We're going to provide that cost of living relief for every trader and resident with a rates freeze and keep the budget in surplus. We're also going to tackle something that I don't think local government has ever done before, the cost of energy, through Empower. So what does that mean? Well, if you go to your local energy provider, Origin or whoever it is, and you say, give me your best deal, maybe you get a few dollars off your bill. We are going to do the work so that every business and resident in the City of Melbourne will be able to go to those providers together. We're going to do the work of getting them on board and doing the negotiations with the providers to get the best possible deal. Do you know what I think? I'm a barrister. I negotiate a lot. I reckon when you've got over 100,000 people, you are going to get a better deal from the energy companies. And we know this works. When it was done in New South Wales on a smaller scale, a 40% reduction in energy prices. Done in London, hundreds of dollars off energy bills. The more of us come together, the better bargain we will strike. And let me tell you, I do some tough negotiating. We are going to get the best deal for the businesses and residents of Melbourne, and that is real cost of living relief. We also want to make Melbourne a great place to do business. And that means getting the basics right. A clean city and a safe city. I want to be judged on my record. And one of the things we have done in this term of council is renegotiated our cleaning contracts. If you report graffiti in this city, it's gone within 72 hours. If it's racist or anti-Semitic, gone within 1 hour. Find me a place in Australia that can beat that record. But here's the thing, I don't want to spend ratepayer money cleaning up graffiti. I want to stop it. So we're going to do that in 2 ways. One, we're going to have 30 city safety officers patrolling our streets. They'll be in safety uniforms, they're able to make arrests, they're able to de-escalate conflicts. And I think having that visible presence on the streets, that's what stops somebody tagging or engaging in antisocial behaviour. That's what makes people feel safer on our streets, and it sends a clear message. You don't get away with antisocial behaviour in Melbourne. This is a city we are proud of, and we are not going to tolerate it. We're also going to do it in a second way. We are going to make sure that if you commit crimes, in particular graffiti, you are going to pay for it. We will have a you spray, you pay policy, because it shouldn't be the ratepayers of Melbourne paying to clean up graffiti. And that's possible. Under our current Sentencing Act, we have done the hard work. The City of Melbourne will file victim of crime statements. We will be fronting up to court proceedings, and we will be seeking orders that people who commit crimes of graffiti, they clean it up or they pay for it. This is a city that is proud of itself, and we are going to make sure that if you come to Melbourne, if you do damage to this city, you will pay the price for that. And finally, I started by talking about my kids. I want Melbourne to have a bright future. That's why we're going to focus on attracting new businesses, global headquarters, and making it easier for every small business, because Melbourne is a city of opportunity and we want more of them.
Thank you. Thank you. Round of applause for Team Nicholas Reese, please. Next, we've got the representative for Anthony Cuda.
Hi everyone, my name is Intaj Khan. I'm a Deputy Lord Mayor candidate for Team Cuda. Can I say Cuda have sent an apology, couldn't make it this evening due to his mother's condition. So I'd like to first start before I thank you for the organisers, especially Pirthwe, Manjula and his entire team. What a great arrangement you have done, and good luck to the Inspire. I'm actually inspired. What a great idea, launching the magazine and covering such a debate like this. It takes a lot of work behind in organizations and getting all things in order. So can I say Team Cuda is made of Team Cuda, which is Anthony Cuda, for his independent candidate. He is not aligned with the Labor or Liberal Party. Myself, I'm a Deputy Lord Mayor candidate. I'm aligned with the Liberal Party, so make it clear. Now, we like to say that we're the team who have a business experience. Myself, I'll give a bit of background myself. I'm a migrant from India, and my company was listed in BRW 2012, number 14 in entire country, 2013, listed in number 17 in entire country. So this is my bit of background, and then I've become first in 2012, a local councillor, one of the Australia's fastest growing council, Greenfield, which is not like a Melbourne as we running. It was a Wyndham City Council, and I chaired as being a portfolio holder of business. And last 4 years, 16 to 2020, I was a chair and portfolio holder of Urban Future, which is specialized me the planning and how the planning and entire urbanizations goes in City of Wyndham. Now, reason is why Team Cuda is running. We realized that Cuda, including myself and team of business people, we love Melbourne. We can't see what happened to the city of Melbourne. I'm sure everybody knows city is livable and what number we are on. So Team Cuda, especially Anthony, have a dream to bring back the same status as used to be before. So what are we going to do? A very simple plans. We have a plan which is going to work, and we'll make it clear. So how we do it, we have a plan to bring people back to city. How I'll do it, some people laugh it and say, hey, what about the coffee? That's a great start to do, bring people back to city. And we're saying, let's bring people back to city, at least work at least 4 days. New South Wales have done it. Sydney have done. Why can't we do it? We should be the front runner of it. I know it's not up to us, but at least we will encourage the local government, all employees to come to at least minimum 4 days. If they're not coming, we'll make sure. Now, other thing is we can advocate and we'll fight for you to make sure the state government bring people to CBD, Central Business District. If the people are not there, what's the use of having CBDs? So we have walked in city and we realized, my goodness sake, look at the lease signs. FIR, Australian Financial Review, published on page number 33, which is on 14th of October. It says 20% offices are empty. It's the highest vacancy in the country. And which city? city called livable, the best city in the world, Melbourne. How can that happen to the city? What happened to the city? We people who run businesses and we live in the Melbourne and we love Melbourne now have an obligation and a right to choose a right team who cares about it, who have a plan. So what plan have we got? We know how to do it. So we have $5,000 grant. We're going to give those people signing leases, those are empty. That's how you do it. We have experience of business, so we talk a policy, the policy can work, a practical solution, not to talk about the problems. So that's how we're gonna make city become more vibrant. Now on top of that, we realize that, and we agree with the team, Wood is important to freeze a rate. He's going for 1 year, we're going further up. We realize that we've done so much research, it has to be 2 years. So we're going to freeze interest, so council rate increase for 2 years, not for 1 year. And that's the thing we want to do it. Now, safe city, we want to make sure that when you walk on Elizabeth Street, what happened in last week, we have a safety booth. Council funded PSOs. You can feel safe under the team Cuda, a leadership who understand what is important. And we have spoken with Vic Paul. And they said, the reason why cops are not on the street, because they've got to pay $25 for the car parking. The poor guy's not getting any way paid. You know that every single car, police says, increase our salary. So what council can do? Yes, we can do something. We said that if we get elected, we'll make sure they will get free car parking. Those police officers are working, serving my city, your city, our city, will make sure they get a free car parking. So that's something we can do it, and we increase, we need more police. Now, free car parking is important after 6:30 for everybody. I cannot imagine walking on a CBD after 6:30, I have to increase my pay fine. So anyway, car parking is important. I'm just going to finish quickly. Now, we have a big plan for the big event. I know my time is up. And we have a plan to fast-track planning schemes. So make sure that we know we encourage affordable housing and fast-track the planning permits. Now, rooftop gardens, there's a funding. Absolutely not going ahead with the green project because it's important to save money. We can't afford it. Now, each year, people like yourself will have a business investment summit. So we can make sure you get a startup and investment council holds it.
Thank you very much.
Council rate, stamp duty, just one sec. Stamp duty is important. Now 600 is only first home buyers. We're going to do 800,000. We're going to work with the state government. So things like this, I think I will be able to answer more.
Thank you. Round of applause, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today. Mr. Gary Morgan.
Thank you for arranging this meeting. I never thought we'd have a meeting in the council election talking about economics. It's sensible. And thank you, competitors, for saying your words. You haven't really hit the issue. Now, I've lived in Melbourne for 60 plus years. I've worked in Melbourne for 60 plus years. I own a company which employs over 600 people. I'm interested in giving jobs to many people. I've got activities all over the country and all over the world. So why am I here to run for Melbourne Mayor? It's pretty obvious. Change is needed. Melbourne's bankrupt. Melbourne's bankrupt. A building in Collins Street the other day sold for $29 million. It was 2 years ago, it was $44 million. I've owned about 8 buildings, I think, in the city of Melbourne, and I know what happens when the price of buildings drop. We're in a rough time, but the rates have to drop. And I'm standing particularly to get my councillor in for Team Morgan, Raf Camillo. He's a wonderful person. I want him to be elected. And hopefully there's enough people in Melbourne who understand economics and the businesses which needed to fix this state. I mean this state. Melbourne is only a small part of the state, but we have some issues that I think are important that we have to look at. Firstly, Melbourne has 150,000 people, Sydney 250,000, Brisbane 1.2 million. We need to be larger. Secondly, we have to change the way in which Melbourne works. We need to attract more businesses, we need to attract more tourists, we need to change the way in which this city is generating business. Now, the two aspects of this city which are fantastic, wonderful, that is education and health. We have a wonderful education system. both private and public, and we have a wonderful health system, and I'm alive because of that wonderful health system, and many of you in this room will be alive for a lot longer than you think you're going to be, thanks to this wonderful health system. But with the prices of buildings dropping and the value of apartments dropping, then the rates have to drop. So saying they're going to freeze the rates, of course, is a lot of nonsense. The rates have to drop because the values have dropped. That's fairly simple. Now, of course, no one's going to want to do that until you get a Lord Mayor who understands economics and understands how to handle the state government. I founded the Committee for Melbourne 40 years ago. We put in the Domain Tunnel, we put in the Docklands, we put the Circle Tram in, we created Spring Racing Carnival, which you're all going to participate in, and we changed Melbourne with both the business community, people such as John Elliott and Pratt and Lindsay Fox, plus the unions, people such as Gary Weaven and Bill Kelty, to set up the Committee for Melbourne. We're going to do that again. Whether I'm mayor or not, I'm going to do it. I don't have to be mayor of Melbourne to get change. I have to be proactive to get change. What are we going to do to get change? Firstly, we're going to get from the state government a fair share of the GST. We're having these wonderful functions in Melbourne, Taylor Swift, the grand final, and wonderful exhibitions at the State Gallery. The GST goes straight to the state government. It doesn't go to the City of Melbourne. Secondly, we've got to stop the state government wasting money on such stupid activities as building a railway line from Frankston to Box Hill. Have you ever heard of anything so stupid, to waste billions of dollars on a railway line to nowhere? Thirdly, we do not need another city at Box Hill. We've got a City of Melbourne. We need to make Melbourne better. We need to make Melbourne more competitive on a worldwide basis. We need to make more people wanting to set up their head offices in Melbourne. And all of you can do that as mayor, and I'll help you do it. You're not going to be able to do it on yourselves. You need a company like Roy Morgan to help you. We're the biggest provider of information in this country. Today, the government uses us. The government doesn't provide us with anything. We supply all the information which is used in the country, such on drugs, unemployment, health, youth domestic violence, etc., etc. So I want to make Melbourne basically what it should be, a great city. I'm here to do it if I get elected. Hopefully I will. If not, I will work with these people to make Melbourne a great city. I've got a few more years left. I can still run 10Ks, remember. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. As you can see, there's a lot of passion and there's a lot of purpose behind why these people are here. We're going to now ask each person a directed question, one question. Please allow 2-3 minutes each question. If you want 1 minute. 1 minute. Let's get it going. Good. So let's do it to 1 minute. Yeah, let's Kim.
Okay, Team Wood, you're up first. Melbourne's CBD office vacancy rate is at a record high. You've proposed converting empty office towers into residential spaces. How do you respond to critics who say this could permanently damage Melbourne's status as a business hub?
So that's a big policy of Mr. Reese's. Team Wood had a policy of sitting down actually with all the different sectors, including the private sector. And I think what we actually need to see here is we need to see the City of Melbourne leading a conversation with the state government, with the federal government, where we see on foregone revenue side of things, a haircut to rates, a haircut to land tax and a haircut to the GST, because at the moment we're not seeing key worker housing get out of the ground, even with a density uplift. So, converting office towers to residential is going to be a very small part of the answer. It's not the panacea. We actually need the private sector to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and we've got to get the market settings right for that.
The next question up's for yourself, Jamal. You've emphasised streamlining planning approvals. Can you explain how you'll balance this with maintaining Melbourne's heritage and character, which is arguably the crucial attraction for tourism and the city's identity on the world stage?
Thank you. I think this is in reference to us streamlining planning approvals when it comes to good design. So Michael Smith is our number one candidate in the council, and it's about making sure there's expertise on the council to deliver for Melbourne and having a look at how we can bring those expertise on. By having streamlined approvals where developers are working with council on good design guidelines, they're delivering things within the guidelines really quickly, we can fast track the delivery of construction, and that's the idea behind that. We know that the housing crisis is our number one crisis right now, and so it's really critical for us to support
Thank you. 1 minute.
everybody around that.
Thank you.
Okay, so this one's for Team Cuda. Yep, sorry, we're keeping you on your toes.
That's
As a team, your platform focuses on innovative approaches to strengthen the local economy. Some say that Cuda's lack of political experience could hinder implementation. How do you respond? And can you provide, in a very short period of time, some specific examples of these innovative approaches?
Oh, well, that's not our view, though. We have experience. Myself, I'm in local government, and we have Gladys Lewis being a member of parliament. I think this is the only team who have more experience in economy, how to build economy. And look at the policies, actually. We're the true team who have a policies to giving a $5,000. Top of that, like talk about affordable housing. If we do get elected, we know how to convert or allow people to do office empty. They can make hotels. They can go for the planning scheme does allow, actually, because a CBD is a commercial zone, so you can make it residential. But we will be the one pro-business, supporting the land development, supporting the planning, fast-tracking plannings. It sounds like somebody saying it's look like our planning scheme, and we will make sure that, we have an economy, will a change in our team Cuda's leadership. And having his experience, not being a politician, he still actually makes closer to the people, because he won't be listening orders from the Labor or Liberal Party. He's a man, his own. He done it again. He was a leader.
Thank you.
And he was a captain and was very successful.
Thank you guys so much. So before we get on to the next question, I want to open it up to the floor, not just yet, but you guys have pens and piece of paper. If you guys have questions directed at the panel, can you please ask them now or write it down, and we'll come around and collect it after everyone's asked their question. Thank you.
So the next question is for the representative for Nicholas. So your party has prioritised greener neighbourhoods and cleaner streets. How do you justify potentially increasing the costs for business in pursuit of these goals, especially when many are still recovering from the economic effects of the pandemic?
I'm really proud that Team Nick Reese is the only team that have released all of our costings and committing to keeping a budget in surplus. So what does that mean? It means that we are going to freeze rates. Calm down, Arron, you'll get your chance. Don't worry. We are going to freeze rates. That's real cost of living relief for business. Relax. We're going to deliver energy price reductions. That's real cost of living relief for business. And we are going to deliver a clean city, because that attracts people. That's good for business. And yes, we believe in a greener Melbourne, because Melbourne's gardens are a huge attraction. Victoria used to be the garden state. We want Melbourne to be the garden city with 28 new parks and gardens, because there always has to be another reason to drive visitation. But that's just the beginning of our agenda. We're promising year-round events to drive people back into the city. We're also committing to making it easier to do business. Further cuts to the time it takes to start a small business, limiting the red tape, and a low tax environment. And perhaps most importantly, we will be a champion to the state government to lower state taxes as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, Team Morgan, guess you gathered this was for you. Melbourne's nighttime economy has been struggling. Would you consider controversial measures like 24-hour public transport or relaxed licensing laws to boost this sector, despite potential pushback from residents?
The answer is yes, so long as it's safe. In other words, the protective safety officers have to be more than sitting at the railway stations doing nothing. They need to work with the unions to make sure that the police can make sure it's safe. My son's a rock star, by the way, so he would like it 24 hours a day. And all of you hopefully can participate in some of his shows in a few months' time. But that's really important. The question is, how do you do what we say, save money? And that means we have to tackle the state government. It's what I did 40 years ago with the Committee for Melbourne and with the people I mentioned. We have to make sure the state government realises Melbourne needs more funding, and we need to cut out the waste, which is massive in the City Council. That's simple.
What about the part about 24-hour public transport?
Of course, there's 24-hour public transport now. It's now going. Of course, there can be more of that if it's safe. In other words, you have to work with the state government. The state government runs a transport system, not the City of Melbourne. Let's be sensible.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Now we're going to ask the audience to ask some questions. Yeah. Who would like to ask a question around for the panel? Sure.
Hi, Hayden. Just want to know about the homelessness issue at the moment in CBD. It's gone through the roof. What is the current team doing or done about it? And of course, the policies we can see the other people are doing. But the current team, it's not working, whatever they're doing. And certainly, it's attracting more homeless people. I don't know why.
Great question. Thank you. Who would like to?
That's a great question. I'm happy to answer it as a current councillor because it's an issue really close to my heart. There are about 100 people sleeping rough on the streets of Melbourne right now. That's not good for them, and it's not good for our city either. That's why this term of council has delivered a new project. It's called Make Room. It's down near Spencer Street. Construction's just finished and it will open soon. It will be 50 self-serviced apartments. Overnight, when that opens, that will halve the number of rough sleepers on our streets. And it also means when our local officers speak to those people, and they know them by name, they will say to them, this isn't the right place for you. It's not safe for you to be sleeping on our streets. That's not the sort of city we are. But there is a place for you now. And particularly, I want to talk about how Make Room was funded. It was largely funded with philanthropy. Because Melbourne is full of good people who want to do the right thing. And I'm really proud, as a council, that we have harnessed a lot of the good intentions of the people of Melbourne who've wanted to give back. We have managed to construct this facility. It's going to open soon. And I'm so proud to know that in this term we've delivered that. But let's be honest, there is so much more to do. That is why one of our election promises is further funding for homeless services, because we've got to make sure that we are a city everyone can be proud of. And here's the most important thing. We are in a housing crisis. We need to deliver more housing in Melbourne. That includes cutting planning times, cutting the red tape, and looking at opportunities. Those B and C grade buildings that are empty, there's 80 of them that are ready for conversion. Let's turn them into housing and be a city where everyone has a roof.
Thank you. Gary, I can see that you are just wanting to jump out of your seat and say something.
It's pretty simple. And I see them as I walk into the city, the homeless every day. They're mentally ill. There's been a major change in the proportion of people who have mental problems today. May have been generated initially by COVID, and with young children it's generated with, I think, the people on the computers. We actually do the study of children aged 4 to 18, continuous study, both of a cross-section of children. I think it's 10,000 a year, and also a cross-section of Aboriginal children where we have Aborigines interviewing those children. And I'd be very happy at another forum to go through some of these major social studies that Roy Morgan does. We do most of them in Australia, the drug survey, the domestic violence survey. We did the Jennings report. I can go on and on and on. There's hundreds of them. So I think that on homeless is a mental problem, and it's not shortage of money. You're absolutely right. We're all happy to put more money into it. But if you understand the problem, you can fix it. If you don't understand the problem, you can't fix it. And we're helping both with our company, and are also happy that with everyone in this room to fix it. Everyone wants to get rid of the homeless, obviously.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have another question here, please.
Yeah, thank you. David Hauser. I have a question. Team Reese was the only team that mentioned energy prices. What are the strategies to bring more cheap, renewable, affordable green energy into the city?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that one. Yeah, actually, look, the team Cuda is actually having a plan that we want to do practical solution, like council becoming a major supplier. I think I haven't seen many councils do like this, and I believe that giving a solar rebate, encouraging people to do solar installation will help, and that's, I think, the fair way of it. As you know, the council is a small, limited say in energy and all sorts of things. But yes, we can encourage, we can go talk to the state government and come up some incentives so that the businesses can and residents can have a benefit. And that's our policy is very simple. We like to encourage solar panels on roofs and the buildings. If there's a new buildings getting built in a CBD, we can work with the federal government and there's a state government. They have a program incentives, so we can work and be your voice and ask them to give us a funding, the more funding. So there are funding in place. A lot of people don't know for the federal government and state government. And I think that's the way local government can be your voice and give you a bit of a assistance in relations to the energy relief.
Thank you. Thank you, Arron. I was just going to ask. Thank you. Go for it.
Yeah, so again, I think there's lots of promises in this campaign. So, the businesses out here will be forgiven for thinking that, all sorts of things are coming their way. So please be sceptical about those. And I think checking the track record over the last 4 years about whether our city's safer or cleaner, whether it's easier to do business, that's a really important thing to do. So the track record when I was on council is I actually instigated and led the Melbourne Renewable Energy Project 1. That took City of Melbourne 100% renewable for its operations, but it was the first group purchase of its kind where 14 other organisations, including major corporates like NAB, Melbourne Zoo and Melbourne Convention Exhibition Bureau and local governments all joined forces to pool their electricity and take that to market. And what that did was build a wind farm at Crowlands, just outside of Ararat, an 80 megawatt wind farm. But the great thing about it was that we had a 60-40 contract in terms of price. So 40% of that was fixed. So not only has it been great for the environment, it's been great for the council electricity contracts. We then ran MREP2, which was to prove it for the commercial sector. So 6 corporates, including Mondelez, ISPT, and we've successfully delivered that under a year. We'll do MREP3, which will be targeted at residents and businesses, and particularly small businesses, but we won't just promise that we'll deliver it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We've got a couple more questions over here with Pruvdi.
Hi guys, my question is about the parking issue. As I'm running a couple of restaurants in city, council will never allow us to get our parkings. If we even apply for the permits, they don't allow us. They'll ask whether you are a resident here. But we run here the business and we pay all the council fees from the even landlord sides. Every 3 months we pay almost $3,000 for the council. So, like anyone, can you just tell me what are you going to do?
Possibly someone who hasn't already answered the question, Jamal?
Yeah, I'll answer briefly just what we're doing around parking. Thanks, Prithvi. We are putting together a whole mobility and congestion plan, and as part of that, we recognise in talking to small businesses in particular that loading zones are an issue. So forming permits for specifically around loading zones to help small business is definitely something that we've got on the cards. We've got to recognise that on-street parking is limited, so there's some more work to be done with off-street parking, including council-owned car parks as well, on how we can improve parking situations across the municipality as well.
I'll be quick. We're not going to increase parking fees over the next 4 years because we want more customers coming to your businesses.
Well, I think the team could have a very clear vision now as a car parking. I get there, and your question was clear how we can make car parking free. After 6:30, we have a clear vision. We're going to make car parking free. So that way the customers can come and park and they can do whatever they have to do it. Other thing is now, there's a car for sale at the moment. There's a big building in CBD. If we become a Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, we are not going to sell our assets. Our concept is different. We do not here to sell theatre, and we do not to sell our car parking assets. We are people who understand assets meant to be kept, and will create more revenue for the council. Car parking will be free, by the way, Saturday, Sunday, so you'll see when we get done.
Thank you. Gary.
I'm glad you mentioned car parking because I don't really own a car and I walk to work because I live in East Melbourne, but there's two sides of car parking. I argued with my father on this when he was a councillor 40 years ago. We don't have enough underground car parking for apartments. People who want to live in apartments want to go away for the weekend and they like to have a car. And the rule in the council at the moment is they're not having enough underground parking or parking in the buildings. I don't say the parking should be up in the air. That's crazy. I say it should be underground. Now you may say, well, it's going to cost more money. No way. The rock's worth money. Today, the filler is worth money. So we want to make sure there's more parking for residents. That's one. And secondly, we want to make sure that people use the facilities in the city to come into the city and out of the city if they're safe. So people won't catch a train if it's not safe. People won't catch a tram if it's not safe. Therefore, we won't need a lot of car parking if we have safe facilities and people can get in and out of the city quickly, inexpensively, and it's safe. And it could be free, but we've got to make sure we're not stupid about that. In other words, certain area can be free if you park outside somewhere. Leave it to you, but you people here, you've got to work out this. This is so important for the future.
Thank you so much. One more question from the audience.
I'm the owner of a small family business that was shut down over a year ago by the current council, despite council repeatedly confirming that our business was compliant. We were left with no option but to take legal action in the Supreme Court. And in council's legal defence, they have denied that they have an obligation to act reasonably or in good faith. So my question is, should council have the right to shut down a compliant business? And in doing so, should they be exempt from acting reasonably and in good faith? And if so, how can anyone have any confidence to do business in the City of Melbourne?
It's unfortunate what happened, obviously. And there should be a procedure where there are people on the council who understand what happened to you. And obviously, if I become Lord Mayor, I'll look at it the first day I'm in there and change it. It's very unfortunate. We don't want to have conflict between the council and the businesses. We want the businesses to work with the council. That's why I'm standing, to make sure businesses can communicate with the council. I believe all these people who are running for mayor are very suitable, but they've got a few lessons to be learnt and I'm happy to teach them. The point is, we want businesses who want to be in the City of Melbourne and we want to make them profitable. We want less government. That's what's going to make this town profitable, not more government. And you should be worried about the amount of governments happening in Australia today, particularly in Canberra. I'd close it down tomorrow.
Thanks. Arron? Yes.
Yeah, I think that is sad to hear that your business has been shut down, but we would love to work with businesses and make sure, before you take someone to the Supreme Court and get the business to the run and put all the cost. I'm not familiar with the whole thing, and I'm sure that Jamal and Roshena, the current councillor, they should be responsible for this nonsense act. So we would say that we're going to work with the businesses and give ample opportunities to rectify this issue, but there's no shutdown. We have to work.
Let's hear from Arron. And then after, let's hear from the current government, please. The current mayor.
Yeah, I think, look, it's not a unique story, unfortunately. There's quite a lot of businesses that I've spoken to across the city during the campaign that have had a difficult time with council. Probably not at the level that you've suffered, but I was with a business in Kensington not long ago. They had a serving window that they'd been operating successfully for 10 years, and a council compliance officer came and ordered them to close that window without any reason given. And it wasn't until they entered into correspondence that they actually found that one person had made a complaint about obstruction of the footpath while people were grabbing their coffee. So instead of working with that business, being open with that business and transparent with that business, what we got is a council that's making life more difficult for business. And I think, in the current case, I know there's a court action, so I won't say too much on it, but Mr. Reese is the planning chair who approved the permits in the first place, and I understand that the business complied with all of those conditions and in fact bent over backwards to do the right thing. And I just want to make a point that there's sort of this thing of Mr. Reese saying that he saved all the residents from these sort of awful goings on. Well, I think, if my kids go and make a mess, I expect them to perhaps not make the mess in the first place, not expect to be patted on the back when they clean it up. So I think the residents lost out in this, the business lost out in this, and it's just been a pretty bad process all round.
Can we hear from the current mayor, please? From Nicholas Reese, representing Nicholas Reese, please.
Yeah, but
I'm happy to speak on behalf of Nick.
Yes, please.
Arron, you talked about the business in Kensington that had a tough time. You went down there and took a photo with them. Nick actually fixed the problem for them. So I think that's a bit of a strange example for you to want to highlight as an example of your good track record, because I'm yet to see a selfie being a good outcome for a business. I'm really proud to be running with the Lord Mayor who fixed the problem. Now, Jake, you've talked about your business. You've mentioned it's before the Supreme Court. I don't want to prejudice those proceedings. I'm sure you don't either. So I'm not going to comment on it because I don't want to do damage to your business. I think the appropriate thing is for those court proceedings to occur and for that process to occur fairly for all parties.
Thank you. I won't comment on the case because obviously it's within the Supreme Court, but I think what I would like to say is transparency is really important. One of the commitments we've made in starting this campaign is around transparency. And if elected, one of the first things we will do is to start a process to review how the Town Hall can be more transparent in its processes, in the way it engages with residents, with businesses, and how we can include residents and businesses on the table so that we're driving results together. And I think that's really critical for the success of not just our city, but our economy and the future of Melbourne.
Thank you guys so much. Arron would need to leave soon. Arron would need to leave within 10 minutes. So, but we're going to continue on with this debate so everyone can stick around. Guys, we're getting in favour of questions around protests. Jamal, can you answer that question, please?
I'm happy to answer the question on protests. I think we can all disclose our position on that. So we've got a right to protest in this country. We're a free democratic nation, but rights are not absolute. When you're closing down the city 52 weeks a year, where businesses are unable to operate 1 day a week, and where people are left with sometimes the most vile material on their shop fronts, that's not acceptable. That is not the sort of Melbourne that our residents, visitors and businesses can be proud of. And all options should be on the table. I would like the state government to look at those options, whether they are permits or something else, because Melbourne cannot be a city where people are afraid to visit or afraid to do business in. We're better than that.
Thank you. Arron.
It's good to hear the current Town Hall leadership talking about fixing things up in the last couple of months of an election campaign. Team Wood's come out pretty strongly in support of a permit system. Also, in starting with the premise that we don't want to be known as Australia's protest capital. It's impacting, as the previous speaker said, there is a democratic right to protest. There is also rights for people to go about their livelihoods. There's rights for people to feel safe when they come into the city. And what we want to be known as is Australia's culinary capital and Australia's fashion capital and Australia's sporting capital. So we really need to work with that premise. And it's not about the content of the protest, it's about the conduct, the frequency and the impact. So I think we need to work with Victoria Police, with the state government, and come up with solutions to ensure that things are better in the future for business and for people going about their livelihoods.
Thank you. Arron, I know that you've only got a couple of minutes, so this question is directed at you. Kim, please.
Yeah, so we've really got to get to the heart of what's going on with the young entrepreneurs as well. So in terms of the importance of key worker housing, what specific measures will you implement to ensure that young professionals, particularly those in startups and creative industries, can afford to live and work in Melbourne without having to face long commutes?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I point to the Munro site, which has been delivered by council really successfully, and so you've got over 60 affordable units in that, but you've actually got units in that for TAC, people who've been long-term injured as well. So I think you've got to start with council properties and ensure that you're able to deliver key worker housing and affordable housing on those sites, because you've got direct control over that. But as I mentioned before, I think there's a real conversation that needs to be led by City of Melbourne with the state government and with the federal government, because this is not an issue that a local government alone can fix. And that conversation needs to be, even with density uplift at the moment, we're not getting these projects out of the ground. Why? Because they're not financeable at the moment. So where can the federal government take a haircut on GST, the same for the state government on land tax, and then rate holidays from a local government perspective. And with all of those three things working in concert with a density uplift, I'm confident we'll see more projects get out of the ground.
Thank you. Thank you.
A follow-up question on the same theme for the rep of Nicholson. You advocate for greener neighbourhoods. How can you reconcile environmental initiatives with the urgent need for more commercial spaces for young entrepreneurs required to launch and grow their businesses?
We're not suggesting that we're going to take space away from business in order to have greener neighbourhoods. Greening, particularly in an urban context, takes place in so many ways. It's allowing people to have planter boxes. It's allowing laneways to come to life with vegetation. And it's to make sure those spaces that are underutilised, particularly in some of our new precincts, Arden and Macaulay, which is being built as we speak, Docklands that was built without the sort of planning regulations that we would like to see in place in Arden and Macaulay, injecting that sort of amenity into those neighbourhoods. We're not going to take spaces away from entrepreneurs and businesses. What we are going to do is make it a more desirable place to do business. Because do you know what the best thing is for business? It's having it in a place where your customers want to come to. I talked before about making Melbourne the Garden City. How great would it be if when you ask people, what do you think of when you think of Melbourne, they say, it's lush, it's green, it's full of beautiful flowers and planter boxes, it's got great parks, and it's the place I want to go to. I can't think of a business that would think that would be a bad outcome. We're all about creating a city we're proud of, a city people want to visit, and a place that is great to live in. And this is just one part of that.
Okay, Team Hakeim. You've emphasised the need for affordable housing. How do you plan to ensure that young entrepreneurs can find affordable living options close to their workplaces, given the rising costs in the inner city?
Good question, and that's the whole point of, I guess, affordable housing. We need to ensure that key workers, that everyone's got a place in our city. That includes, it means diverse housing. That means we are looking at how we can bring that stock in. What we're doing is bringing postcode 3000 back stronger and greater than ever. And the first step is to work with some of the world's best in reviewing all our urban environments and how we can do that, just like we did with postcode 3000. It includes all those creative resurgence as part of that program. But it's really critical, and I agree with Arron on this one. How do we use public stocks or public spaces where we are delivering projects to ensure that affordable housing is part of that? Looking at, there might be some conversions. We've included that in our policy as well, but they are a small number, but there are opportunities in some office conversions to residential that can provide that as well. And we need to really make sure that we're still driving postcode 3000 further into our growth areas as well, whether that's in Docklands, Fisherman's Bend, Arden, Macaulay. We're going to ensure that we're working with the state government. With that, how do we deliver it? Through DCPs, to working and making sure that there's proper development contributions that are delivering for our community.
Thank you so much.
Can I just answer that?
Sure.
Obviously, how you're going to fix it. Let me tell you how you're going to fix it. In New Zealand, they allowed the height limit to go up, and all of a sudden the housing prices dropped 20%. We've got so much red tape with government in this state, nothing will happen. You have to cut red tape. Don't touch heritage. Do not touch heritage, Mr. Wood. And secondly, make sure we cut red tape, and then we can fix housing quickly and cheaply.
Thank you. There are questions directed at you. I know that some of you guys have to leave. Are you wanting to leave now, or are you wanting to wait a couple more minutes?
I'll just answer this one quickly anyway.
Okay.
Look, I think it's great to hear from me because I know that people talk affordable housing. Half of the people, do you understand the meaning affordable housing and social housing? Some people do get confused. Affordable housing is, as Arron have said that now, in order to deliver, we need to uplift the height. So the developer goes out so he can have a bit of a leeway to make it affordable. And if the team Cuda get elected, we have a spatial policy. So that way we can have plenty of space. He's got a space, North Melbourne, West Melbourne, Dockland, and we can create a better affordable housing. And we know how to do it. We have our own team, myself, the Zame, we have run a business, and we will work with the planning department and can be done, because nowadays affordable housing meaning is you make sure you have a ground floor, a hotel environment, a startup environment.
Thank you. We're just limited to the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Arron, did you want to say something, final words before you head off, or Jamal? Is it? Yeah,
Jamal's got to head off as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Look, I just want to say thanks again for giving us this opportunity. I think it's really important for you to be able to, hear about the policies, to ask the questions. I'll just encourage you to really kind of dive into those and see what promises are plausible and deliverable, and look at people's track record. And I think, if you think things are not as good as they could be at the moment, then we're offering a fresh start, but with proven leadership to get the basics right. So we hope that you'll vote Team Wood for the council elections, but thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you. Jamal?
Thank you. Thanks, Prithvi, Manjula, everybody for tonight. It's always great to have a debate. As you can see, everyone is passionate about everything that we in our city. We do have a great city. And I think the question is, what do you want to see in the city, and do you want to see the same old, same old? And Einstein said, if you do the same thing over and over again expecting a different result, that's the definition of insanity. We've got to find bold, creative, deliverable, proven solutions, and that's what Team Hakeim is doing. Do check us out, teamhakeim.au, for more detail. Everything's been documented on our website, and I look forward to the rest of the next 8 days before the end of the election. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Closing thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving up your Friday night to listen to us. I'm really grateful, because this election matters. This election is about who has the energy and the experience to actually deliver on their policies. And I am so proud to be running with Nick Reese. Not only is Nick the Lord Mayor, he's worked for a Prime Minister, Julia Gillard. He created the world's largest global men's health charity, Movember. It's about to take off. You're going to see those mows around Melbourne. He started it. It's raised $1.5 billion. Now that's a successful business that has given back. Nick's dedicated his life to public service, and I'm proud that we have put together a team of small business owners, residents, and most importantly, people who are passionate about Melbourne. I hope you will trust us to deliver on our vision, but most importantly, I thank you for listening. Melbourne is a better place because people like you care about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Closing thoughts.
I think, as everybody says, that, I think you hear again and again, and you also like to have a fresh start. Team Cuda is independent team, have experienced business people. We're the only team who have a pro-business approach, and we want to deliver. And we did say that our policies are more clear. It's not about the Melbourne and there's a rosy stories behind what is going to happen, and it's a livable city. We have a plan. So I would just say, think the Team Cuda is a small business. We care about small business. Anthony runs a small business, and we're just proud to be you organize this debate. And once we get in office, you will see us. We will going to have a small committees and meetings and making sure that we hear the businesses and work with you, because that's the reason why. We'll be your voice to the state and federal government and also the local government.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you very much. Gary.
Firstly, I'd like to thank the sponsors who are Inspire and La Cabra. Well done in putting on the show. And thank you, the candidates. My phone number is known. You can ring me any time and I'm happy to help you. And particularly if you're a charity, I'm happy to give you information and help your business. We have massive data. Every company in Australia uses us. Every government in Australia uses us. And so I'm happy to help all of you here if you want some information. Elect me as mayor, that'll be good. But if you don't want to elect me as mayor, that's okay. I'm still here. You can still be in touch with me. Thank you for inviting me tonight.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here. Just a word from one of the co-founders, please.
Hi guys. First of all, thank you so much for being here, taking time for us, and all the best to everybody on the stage. And I really want you to remember only one thing by closing the event. Please do address the young entrepreneurs, how they can pull it out, because they are the next future of the entire, not only Melbourne, it's for the Australia also. So I really want everybody who is going to win to concentrate on that one issue. That is the entire agenda of all the event. Thank you so much for being here.